Hey, this is IndigoMusic.com. I'm Rohit, and it's time for yet another edition of Xperience Sessions. And joining me right now, all the way from Toronto in Canada, is Amai Kuda. Welcome to IndigoMusic.com. It's an absolute pleasure having you here with us.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Now, I've been watching your the music videos of your songs, and let me tell you, it is so what the right word would be. I was lost in the video, as in like there was so much happening with the beautiful music going in the background. Now, your song, especially Oshun, it was so brilliant. Why do you choose animation for your music videos? What's the thought behind that?
Well, there's the song is dedicated to a goddess, an Orisha, as we call them, from West Africa.
Right.
Her name is Oshun, and she's a goddess of fresh water. And so there's these traditional stories that are associated with her. And of course, because of colonization and so on, we've lost, as people of African descent, we've lost a lot of these things. Not so many people know about them as would have known. Many of us didn't grow up practicing as we should have, right? So yeah. There's a kind of need to educate and learn about our own traditions again. And then also, I think for people of all backgrounds to get to know something about these traditions that haven't really been in the spotlight very much. And so I feel like the animated videos are a great way to actually get to know a little bit more about the stories behind these divinities, and sort of have a visual capturing. And of course, animation, you can reflect mystical and magical things much more easily than in live action. Right. So you can have Oshun kind of water bending and doing all these things that would be a little harder to capture if I did a live action music video on my kind of budget. So it was I think it's also great for kids too, right? So they can understand it more easily.
Absolutely. Two parts of that video that I absolutely loved was once when Oshun, she takes all the water and goes up, and then they start praying, and then there's rain again. And the second one was when a peacock turns into a vulture, and it's just so much thought. It's so much nice, and the music also, it just adds a lot of flavor to this particular music video. And let's talk about your other track. It's called Eshu, if I'm pronouncing it right.
Yeah.
What's it all about, and what's the story behind that track?
Yeah, so Eshu is another deity. He's kind of, I won't say more complicated, but in some ways, yes, he's a kind of figure that people would often call a trickster.
Right.
So his role is really is to kind of teach people through the hard lessons in life, those things where you think things are one way and they're really another, or maybe as humans, our ego gets the better of us and we get tripped up, and so Eshu is kind of the divine figure that teaches us to be humble, that we don't have control of everything. And so he's the owner of time. You'll see a sequence in there where he gets given the keys to time by the actual creator, the creator god. There's another sequence where the early one where he's a sort of child figure, because he's both a child and a man, that kind of trickster element. He can be an old man or a young child. And so in his young child form, he actually tries to play a trick on God, and then that's how he becomes the messenger between humans, or the living, the realm of the living and the realm of the divine. So he's kind of given that job henceforth to carry our messages, carry our prayers. And so that means that whenever we want to pray to anybody in these traditions, in the Yoruba traditions, the Ifa traditions, we have to have the humility to always go to Eshu first, always acknowledge there's this element outside of our control, outside of our power. And he also symbolizes the crossroads, right? So decisions, which is every moment in life, really, we're facing crossroads. Do you do this or do you do that? And so always to be humble and to remember that, things can go either way. I think for me, he's a very powerful figure to remember and to acknowledge. And I wanted the video to capture a little bit of his character. So, yeah.
And absolutely, the video did in that particular music video of that song as well. Now, what genre would you put your music in? Is there a certain genre? Where do you see it fit?
I call it Afro soul, which, and some people now apply that term more to soul music from the continent, which that's not quite what I meant when I first dubbed it Afro soul. I more meant, for me, all my music is very soulful and spiritual. So in the kind of original meaning of the word soul. Yeah. And then also, it's all very rooted in my African background. So that there's, I'm Afro-Caribbean. but so whether it's a Caribbean sounding song like Eshu, or a more Afrobeat song like Oshun,
Yeah.
or like the more sort of soul Motown songs like Love Song, like that all kind of has, you can trace the lineage back to sort of continental rhythms and so on. So kind of acknowledging that. And really it's such a mix of different genres that for me, that's why I kind of had to coin this term for myself that kind of captured that. So yeah, I hope that makes sense to people.
Yeah,
But that's the best
it
term I could find.
yeah, it absolutely does. Now let's talk about Canada. Now Canada is home to some of the big pop stars, Drake, The Weeknd. Would there be any collaborations between? Are you planning on, or is there a dream collaboration for you when it comes to music?
For sure, actually, I would love to collaborate with the likes of Drake or The Weeknd. I mean, they're both amazing musicians. I think musically, The Weeknd, I'm very much like impressed by how he kind of he's our modern nod to Michael Jackson, really. And Drake too, like just really he also bridges a lot of interesting styles. So I'm absolutely, if they ever were open to working with me, I would love to. And I think it's interesting that you mentioned the two of them. Like my goal is also obviously to reach a wider platform, because we've yet to have like a woman of African descent kind of bust into the into the mainstream from Canada. And so maybe I could be that person to help bring representation of a Black woman's voice into the mainstream, to kind of match the likes of Weeknd and Drake maybe one day. So yeah, thank you for for thinking of that comparison.
I mean, see, it's endless. Like anything can happen. The universe can take you anywhere. So I think it's always
Absolutely.
good to keep an open mind and dream big. And you never know, it will happen one day with hard work. Man, let's talk about, I'm a huge house music fan, and house music is resurging back. And there are a lot of artists who are into the Afro beat, the Zulu screams and things like that. Has it ever occurred to you that you might also try a bit of house music, keeping your element intact, but the genre would be house?
Yeah, I mean the song "Mother's Home," I don't know if you've heard that one. Actually, has a bit of a house vibe, I would say. And yeah, I would love to do more in that direction. In fact, like there's a lot of songs I also think that I have done many more acoustic songs that I think lend themselves to being sort of sampled in a house track.
Right.
So I would love to find like a house producer, house DJ who would like to like take some of my existing stuff and work with it, and or just collaborate on something totally fresh. Like absolutely, I love house music as well, and I think it would be a great direction for me. And yeah, it's a natural fit, so I'm glad you mentioned that as well.
Well, you know what? I think your voice will definitely suit for a lot of tunes. I listen to a lot of Afrobeat house music, and I think your voice, when I heard your voice, I think it really suits in that genre as well. Now, I want to ask you about your plans for 2023. What's happening? What's cooking in the studios?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm still sort of focusing on promoting this album, and so we're doing a tour actually starting in about a month. We are going to be touring in Canada, across Canada, and we're kind of open to doing some US dates as well, kind of putting the feelers out to see if we get any US dates that are not too far off of our route. Right now the tour is mostly focused in BC, so in the west coast of Canada. And then yeah, my agent is also sort of booking longer term tour dates as well. Yeah, so just really also, the best way, we don't yet have an international tour booked. If people are interested, they can always get in touch with my agent. But one of the best ways right now is online. Like it's just we can reach the whole world. Like right now we're connecting to folks in India, and we've got a lot of fans in Brazil, and so yeah, just kind of really continuing to bring new content and, like you said, collaborations, like keeping fresh things coming out to our fans internationally, connecting online. I'm trying to build my presence there a bit more. Hasn't always come naturally to me being like on social media and so on, but I'm actually starting to get, come into it a little bit more and feel like the great potential for connecting to people everywhere. And so yeah, that's one of my goals for 2023.
Absolutely. I think social media connects people across, and you'll find so much talent, so much, and you people will recognize your talent as well. And you never know what will happen. Maybe the weekend will see your Instagram story and connect with you, and maybe there'll be a
Exactly.
collaboration. So yeah. So once again, thank you so much, Amai, for connecting. And your songs sound brilliant. We're going to be playing them on air in India, both in Bangalore and in Goa. We'll connect
Amazing.
again next time when you release another album or another single. Until then, thank you
Okay.
so much, and it was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.
All right, take care, Mike.
Bye bye.
Bye.